in July 2021, the Minerals Council Board, together with the forum, which we call the CEO Zero Harm Forum, which really puts an emphasis on the leadership from the top in as far as accidents and prevention of accidents is concerned, established the elimination of falls of ground action plan to deliver our industry, and really it is a country ambition that our mines don't kill or injure people in order to achieve the zero fatalities and injuries. In 2022, the industry reported its lowest record of fatalities of 6, which was a 73% reduction compared to the previous year. And you'll see that over the past 20 years, we actually have been making some significant improvements on fatalities. However, we do need to address the challenge where 60% of our FOG-related fatalities happen in the stopeface. It's an overview of what the Fall of Ground Action Plan is. Initiated through the Council with the assistance of the Rock Engineering Technical Committee, supported by South African National Institute of Rock Engineering. And I think most importantly is that it's not just a plan, but it's a plan that is supported with finance in order to make sure that we implement the things that we say we want to achieve. Looking at this graph for the past 20 years, we can see how the number of fatalities due to falls of ground has been reducing. And maybe at this point I can add that if you look at the same graph in terms of total fatalities, it's showing pretty much the same trajectory. But what I found interesting with this graph is that in the first instance, the first time when we reached fatalities below 100, I call that the first breakthrough. And that was in 2004 when we achieved 96. You look at the period when we achieved the next breakthrough in 2010, where we achieved less than 50. So from less than 100 to less than 50. And the next breakthrough was 5 years later, where we again had a significant and a 50% reduction from less than 50 to less than 25. And so the journey continues when we achieved our recent record of 6 fatalities after 7 years. And perhaps it could be a subject of a conversation as to say, as you move closer and closer to zero harm, to zero fatality, it is getting tougher. And I guess perhaps it explains why it's getting longer. However, we do have some advantages in our favor. And so I think what we really need to take away from this graph and appreciate is the significant amount of effort and the achievement of reducing fatalities from more than 100 before 2003, and we've achieved a record of 6. And we see how we're flattening between 2013, 2012, up to now. I acknowledge that we performed above that, unfortunately, or below that in terms of the 15 last year, and already we're sitting at 10 this year. There are ups and downs, but it's not a time to give up. Looking at how we're able to achieve that. And the word collaboration is a word that always comes out in every conversation about how people have achieved success. We could not have achieved this feat today of this level of performance without these partnerships from AMSA, from SAGMA, from SANERA, our OEMs, some of who have come to display their technology here, and the importance of research institutions such as universities and other institutions such as CSIR. There's a need for those who will look ahead in terms of what's coming and what will be useful, whilst we implement current technologies that are proven and can demonstrate that we can actually work in a manner that is safer. So collaboration for shared vision, we have the shared vision of zero harm. Collaboration which will enable us under difficult times to remain resilient, but that collaboration also to make sure that we share the successes that we achieve. Then just looking a bit closer in the past 10 years in terms of how we've delivered the success. Amongst others, very simple innovations the simple act of entry examination and making safe. It's a mindset. And so you can see the progression of this technology over the past 10 years, including in 2021, the adoption of FOGAP. So what is and when is the next breakthrough? I think given the fact that we know this is possible, and so certainly from where we are today, the next breakthrough has to be zero fatality due to falls of ground. We cannot aspire for anything less than that. It is something that is urgent, and part of the solution lies in how we leverage innovation and technology. Some of you will be aware of the innovation from the Mandela Mining Precinct in terms of the Isidingo drill, and it has proven its capability. It is much lighter than the pneumatic drill, energy efficient, and we also have the other challenge of noise-induced hearing loss, so it is much quieter and it's easier to handle. And what we're seeing with these new types of technologies is that mining is no longer what we used to call it a man's game, where it's about physicality. Lighter equipment, technology is enabling the more participation of women. So there's a much bigger impact that we're seeing with technology and innovation beyond just physical. The partnership with our OEMs, with the hydropower equipment, these two pieces of equipment are lending to precision drilling. And the importance of this precision drilling is the efficiency, the consistency of fragmentation, how quickly you're able to drill, and therefore it means that the amount of time spent underground can be shortened while still achieving the full amount of work that is required underground. The next step in this innovation is to develop drill guides that are adaptable to all underground situations. In terms of the journey towards the zero fatality, best practice approaches are going to be the standard way in which we will need to work. I mentioned as well earlier the concept of collaboration. It is also a partnership and a collaboration between employer and employee, where the employer commitment remains safety first always. But it is not only the responsibility of the employer, but it also needs to be recognized that it's a commitment from the employee as well, where the employee commits to first my life, then my work. Our way forward to zero falls of ground fatality breakthrough, I believe we can achieve through continue to reinforce the implementation of the fall of ground action plan. We've seen the learning and sharing that takes place. We've got a platform in the Minerals Council in terms of an hour of learning, the CEO Zero Harm, where the CEOs come and hear and listen in terms of successes, but also challenges in terms of recent HPIs, recent fatalities, in order to prevent the same accident or incident happening again. I've spoken about how key collaboration is. It's important to appreciate that planned work is safe work. The working areas underground are inherently unsafe, but we are trained professionals who have worked in these environments for a long time, where we have employees who've been working there for a long time. But at times, familiarity, as the saying goes, breeds contempt. And we cannot forego, even for a second, the need to plan the work in order to have safe work. We're seeing how technology is rapidly developing, but the use of technology is not to replace people. And there may be opportunities where it is important to replace people, remove them from an unsafe place. But we've seen how there are technologies as well that are actually enhancing the human capability. I think the use of AI in terms of potentially foreseeing what a face looks like after a blast, where you send in a robot to go and do an initial assessment, and then humans enter once that place is well understood in terms of where the unsafe areas are and what the required interventions will be, and where the safe areas are in that same location where the employee can stand and begin his and or her work. So using technology appropriately for safety and enhancing the ability of people to work, I'd like to believe that the combination of these factors will get us to the next breakthrough of zero falls of ground fatality.